Okay, good morning, everybody. Um, so, we're at Avondale Park in the community of Avondale. Um, and this is a neighborhood that is very interesting to me from a preservation point of view. Turn around and look down there and tell me what you see. What kind of a place is this?
Commercial buildings that kind of look a lot more 20th century than 21st century.
Yeah, for sure. So, it's a historic district, right? So, they're not going to be 21st century. But what do you mean when you say that? Be a little more specific. He says a lot of commercial buildings that look 20th century. What do you think you mean by that?
Or at least from right here, the two things I can see the most clearly, without too much obstruction, are two kind of brick buildings who look like they just had age built upon them on the sides. They just to look a little more worn
Okay.
than a normal. Yeah, kind of like some of these that look like they have the vinyl right
Yeah.
there, and that rock looks a lot newer.
Yeah. So, yeah, for sure, our 20th century commercial district. Here with parks in the district. What else? Is this a place you would see as a destination or something else? What do you say, Alyssa? And look around. You can look around, see what you see. Except for the park. Look down there. Is that a destination? Do you think that's silk stocking? What do you think? A high, medium, low income area? What do you say? Beautiful? No, let's be real. This is not standing here. This is not beautiful, I'd say. Would you agree? Yeah? Okay. And yet, it is one of the most popular destination points for young people and all the way up for various reasons. This, okay? Have any idea what message I'm trying to get to you?
Don't judge a book by its cover.
Okay, don't judge a book by its cover. Well, the message I'm trying to send you is that historic districts don't have to be gorgeous. They don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to be any of those things. They don't have to be striking architecturally at all. Okay? So we're going to walk down there later on and take a look at it more. We'll talk about it more. But I wanted you to get a sense of, well, that's interesting because downtown was beautiful. 5 Points South is beautiful. Phelan Park, I'd say it's quaint and interesting. I would not call this quaint. You see mostly power lines and something, signs, I don't know. But quaint it ain't, I think. Okay? All right, well, let's start with the park, though. So Avondale was a neighborhood that developed in the 1920s and earlier, 1910s, even a little bit earlier than that. This side developed, there's the railroad tracks down there on the other side of those last red lights. On this side was developed for white people, and on the other side is developed for black people. It's on this side where all the extreme gentrification has taken place over the last 15 years, okay? Not on the other side. It has not enjoyed anything like that. It is not, its values have not come up, on and on and on. But this side, oh, you better believe it. 15, 20 years ago, you could have bought one of these mini bungalows in this neighborhood. It's a pretty big neighborhood for 40,000, 30,000, 50,000. Now you're paying 3 and 4 and 5 and 600,000 for the same 2 or 3 bedroom bungalow. That's called gentrification. Okay, so at some point, these neighborhoods, many of which we're going to see in this half of the class, become very blighted, including Avondale. Definitely Avondale. And you had people moving to the suburbs, sponsored by the federal government, remember, with interstates and
What year
FH.
about this is the 1960s?
70s,
Okay.
60s, 70s,
Yeah, yeah,
through the 90s, I'd say. But 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, big time. And so they're leaving at with the federal government subsidizing it through interstates and FHA housing, moving to the suburbs. Um, and if that didn't incentivize you, racism may have, white flight. At any rate, pretty planned exodus from the city on the part of the federal government and developers. Why are they doing it if not to draw people out of the city to new suburbs? And so they do and leave this neighborhood and many others in every city in the country to rot and ruin, basically. And so the property values tank. That allows people with much less income to come in and usually rent, sometimes buy. If they bought, they're in good shape. The majority that had to rent are not in good shape, right? Because as Sam said, when 40 years later, the suburbanites decide to come back into the downtowns, well, they can buy them for a song, and then they're going to renovate them, so on and so forth, so on and so forth. And the renters can no longer afford that rent, and they're the majority, right? So the people that have suffered through the 4 and 5 decades of blight and ruin are priced out of the neighborhood, right? And middle, upper middle class come in. So if you've got a dilapidated property, what do you want to happen to it?
we want it to gain value.
You want it to get renovated. And the more it renovates, the more the value of it's going up. You want that, right? And at the same time, with our structure, especially in the United States, capitalism being almost the only driver, then it is by definition going to price the people out who are much poorer and less to pay. And they're going to have to go somewhere else. The thing is, though, that there are tools that cities know about and can use to slow that, to slow it down and give the neighborhood a chance to do it more slowly and accommodate more of the people who were there. There are things that can be done. Capitalism doesn't like those things. Capitalism wants so be it, you know. Now, the African Americans or minorities who were here and could buy, they're in just as good a shape as the white people, right? But it's much the minority of people. It's not happening at all on the other side of the railroad. So this is such a great example of gentrification here, absolutely. Well, one of the things that spurred on the gentrification in the first place was this park, for sure. That would make sense, right?
One of the first things that did what? That
Spurred
the
gentrification. I'm sorry, and if I've got my back to you, come around and listen to me, you know, so I won't have to do all the thinking. So I don't need to be speaking to your back. I mean, my back, right? If you can't hear me. So when you look at this park, what kind of park do you see? What would you say? How would you define it, the park itself?
It's very open in this part. There's a central pond
Yeah.
between it.
There used to be a zoo here originally,
okay, that was
and the famous Fanny.
The enclosures and stuff
Yeah,
back there.
Yeah. So yeah, originally it had a zoo and a rose garden over there, and a famous elephant named Fancy, which we have acknowledged here in this wonderful statue. And apparently the lore is, and of course we know you can always believe lore, is that Fancy developed a bit of a taste for alcohol because there were a lot of alcohol around here, bars and such, and so it was, so they say, you could see Fancy on any given day, a little bit tipsy sometimes. So yeah, it's open, it's got a central pond with ducks, and then you can see some structures over there. We're going to go over there and look at some of them because they're fantastic. This was a park that got a lot of government money during the Depression, or right in the middle, beginning of the Depression, middle, late Depression. Um, it's unclear to me still if it was WPA money, if it was New Deal money, or if it was money that came a little bit earlier than that. I'm not sure. A lot of people say WPA, and other things I've read said it wasn't WPA money. But at any rate, it was some kind of federal government money that came through, and it came through during the period of the Great Depression, I believe. And so any of these, most of these stone structures you're going to see were built with federal government money during that period somehow. Birmingham and Alabama and all of the South got huge buckets of New Deal money. Any idea why that might be? What do you think? How do states pull in federal money, would you say, just generally speaking?
New economic centers.
How does the money get from Washington to Alabama and Birmingham?
Interstate.
No,
State governments.
no, not particularly.
Airports.
Representatives and some.
Powerful representatives in Congress. And I don't know if I said this to you before, I may have. But one of the things Southerners before and after the Civil War did was that when they elected you to Congress, you stay there till you die. And that's because they want you to gain seniority. Southerners know what they're doing. And they get people that have such great seniority and build up powerful, powerful positions. The Southern Democrats at that time were wholeheartedly New Deal Democrats. They were probably his best constituency. He couldn't do the New Deal without Democrats, Southern Democrats. And so Alabama in particular had 4 or 5 at least really powerful Southern Democrats, New Dealers. And so we were able to just funnel lots and lots of money into Alabama. No state needed it more either. So let's walk a little bit over to the, let's see which is the best way. Either way, but I guess let's go this way. And we'll walk over here and see some of the structures that were built. But I was going to say in the 1970s, the thing that really began to spur and focus on and visualize a rehabilitated Avondale was a women's group, predominantly, not solely, called the Friends of Avondale Park. Are you wanting to say something?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Are you freezing?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. I forgot to offer you my jacket.
No, you're fine. Thank you.
And so the Friends of Avondale Park, a private organization, many of them were women, dominated by women,
What year?
70s,
Okay.
who got together and visualized, very much wanted to renovate this park. Most of these women lived just behind park on the other side of 8th Avenue or Claremont, this side and the other side of Forest Park. Forest Park was a much more upper middle class neighborhood, right? They were fighting hard to keep Forest Park alive, and they did it, barely, but they were making it, and they felt like Forest Park would be a lot better off if this side with the park were also better off, right? And so they were focusing on the park, and what they did was they organized, and then they began to raise money, and they began to politic at the same time, raising money, grants, private money, door to door, and politicking downtown. In 1979, we had our first black mayor, Richard Arrington. He was in office for 4 terms. Right before him was Mayor David Vann, who was the last white mayor we've had. He was also very liberal and believed in government help to renovate and stuff like that. He and Arrington were colleagues and friends, and where David Van left off in his vision, Arrington picked up. And so Arrington's vision was Van's vision was to renovate 5 Point South, all the different nodes and neighborhoods we were seeing, and parks and whatever's in there. And then Arrington picks up and does it, basically. And so the women organize, and it takes years, as I keep saying to you, takes years, decades and decades, generations to really turn something around. It just really does. That's my experience. And I think it's that way all around the country. And so their first goal was to do a public-private partnership, the private monies they've raised, and then they want the city to put its money into it. And that was the deal, just like in Phelan Park. Do you remember that? And so it was in the 1990s, but more in the early 2000s when it starts to happen. It finally starts to happen. They began to have enough money to renovate some of the structures over there, which are just wonderful things. And then in the 2000 somewhere, not that long ago, the sign was sculpted. That's not the right word. What do you do when you make
Erected?
when you make an iron sign? Huh? Cast. That's the word I'm looking for. Was cast. Fannie was commissioned, which cost a lot of money, and that's when you really see Avondale hit its stride there. At the same time, I was at City Hall during this time. I wrote a grant for to hire somebody to do the documentation for the Avondale Historic District, which we did. And that brings tax advantages and other things if they want to take advantage of them. And so things began to happen. Why do you think Avondale is a popular place, let's say, for UAB students? Why do you think that is? Yeah, a lot of cool places have opened, and it's thought, Mr. Sociology, that, and others, so UAB's over there, 5 Points renovated, and then the next place over, Lakeview and Avondale. This is the natural sort of migration of rejuvenation, that sort of thing, in Avondale. Well, Avondale had some, well, I'll talk about that when we get to the commercial district. So let's go and look at some of the structures. I will say that this is how bad it was. In the 70s, I was a student at Samford. My father was a professor there, so I had to go to Samford, which was a good school. But, not a lot of things to do at Samford. So my best friend and I knew we were not supposed to come over here because it was dangerous. It had a lot of drug activity over here. It was very poor, blighted, so on. But we had no sense, and so we came over here and would play on the playground or something like that. It was at that time really overrun with drugs and drug addicts. You should not be in this park, but we did it several times. And so to say that that's how blighted it was, we had no business whatsoever being over here. In the 1980s, I believe, the library was built there. That's a big boon and popular, I think. That's the old rose garden, and it's still a rose garden. Okay, so this is one of the early stone structures built in here, and a lot of times when you see WPA or New Deal or that era structures built in public places, they don't build on private places, they build in public places. It's going to be this cut stone around here. You know the little bridge that goes from Homewood to across to Vestavia? You know where Brooklyn Mall is? There's a bridge if you're on 31 and you're going to Vestavia that goes over there, over Lakeshore. That bridge was built by the WPA. Stones just like this. Lots and lots of places.
Was this built by the WPA?
Yeah,
Okay.
or the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, government monies, not totally. But yeah, it's wonderful. But when I was coming over here in the 70s and even much later than that, it was totally overgrown. You would never have been able to use it, nor would you want to, I think. So the city of Birmingham and the Friends of Avondale Park got together and put money into it, cleaned it up, renovated these structures, put up that lattice work, renovated it, did some different things to it. And it's a really popular place. It's fabulous to come to, and they have outdoor concerts. They have drag shows, they have all kinds of stuff out here. And so it's a lot of fun in the spring and the fall, whatever. Okay, let's walk that way. There's another structure over there, the pavilion, and the pavilion was just about to fall down when it was saved during this period. And it's very beautiful. You can see it's a real popular place for families to go and everything. And that building really was just down on its knees. Some more of the cut stone structure.
Is this from the 30s as well?
Yeah, when you see that,
Yeah.
it's a good tip-off.
Oh, the limestone is it?
Huh?
The 1930s limestone was popular in the 1930s.
It's not limestone. These are
What's
cut
it called?
stone.
Cut stone.
Yeah, cut stone, and then that's concrete.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but yeah, limestone was popular, but that's not it. Okay, we're going to go over here and then kind of walk around and go down into the commercial district. And this park, lots of days, is real busy with all kinds of stuff going on. Of course, these parks were segregated, right? Blacks paying for it but couldn't go. And one of the things that happened to it, of course, was after desegregation, whites in this neighborhood didn't want to be in a park with black people. And so, good morning. And so whites created this little park called Triangle Park in Forest Park. It's just a little place, but that was their answer to that. So they created this little Triangle Park and then were fine to let this park go to seed, basically. And so the moral of many of these stories is that race is involved in everything. And it's expensive. Okay, let's see. We'll just go right up through here. Avondale School is right over there. And it has gotten, in the last 20 years, got a brand new big addition and a lot of renovation. And it's pretty mixed now. See this beautiful stone? All of this was just, falling down. Birmingham really has a good reputation in the world of historic preservation for a saving. Maybe they didn't intend to, but nobody wanted to come by them. So having a big collection of historic properties, especially downtown, but other places, and then doing good preservation work with it. Okay, I want to look at some of these houses and what's happened over here. So just judging by what you see here, it's pretty representative of the rest of the Avondale residential area. What do you see here? What kind of neighborhood we got? What do you say, Patrick?
What do you mean? What kind of? It's residential. Oh, you mean like social?
No. So what kind of architecture is that?
It's I mean, we said it's what is cut stone? Is it? No.
That's a craftsman bungalow.
Oh, it's no. Yeah, you're right. It is. So it's even earlier, but it looks
well, it's
like,
20s. It could be 10s, but 10s, 20s.
You think that's a newer addition? Okay.
No.
That was there from this. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a craftsman. Yes.
Very.
It's
It's a.
the what do you call it? The rafter tail.
Yep. Rafter tails. The field stone. This is a wonderful craftsman bungalow, and it's
you're
in
right,
very authentic shape. That's for sure.
Yes, it looks very.
And you see the front door with the side lights, the windows on each side of the front door. I would call those divided side lights, maybe, or 8 pane. What 2, 1, 6, 8 pane, or whatever. But yeah, that's a great example. What else do you see here in terms of this residential neighborhood? What else do we have in here? Hey, we can walk down here a little bit. What else do we have? What's this? What's this? Would you say? This. When do you think that was built? What's a clue that it isn't original to the site? What do you say, Alyssa? Yeah. So the wall, the retaining wall, and the steps are much older, aren't they? And they're stone or concrete or something, but you got stone and concrete there, and they just, they're older, and you also know they're not original to it. Why? How do you know, Anastasia? Well, it's not facing the street, but what else do those stairs tell you that it's not original to this site, to this building? The stairs go nowhere. So there's no reason to have those stairs there for this building, right? Even if it's a fence in your way, right? So those are good clues, I'd say more than clues, that there was something else there. What do you think might have been there?
Probably a house, some different house, right?
I'd say a house. How many? We don't know, but I'm thinking 2 by the size of the lot. Could have been even more than that, but probably 2 at least. How would you find out? Sanborn maps. Wonderful, wonderful Sanborn maps. And also the city directories, but Sanborn maps are best. They've taken a photograph, right? You can find out all about it there. Right down a little bit down here further. And so obviously this is multi-housing of some sort, not single family. And we call that an intrusion. It's not the worst thing, but it is an intrusion thing, an intrusion into the historic fabric of the neighborhood. So you can see, I just wanted you to glimpse down here the other types of residential architecture that are prominent and common in Avondale. Anybody tell me what kind of roof that is right there? Remember when you got the seams?
The hip roof?
Hip
Is that-
roof.
You're talking about that?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
talking exactly about what you just said. That's a hip roof. It's a bungalow. It's not a craftsman bungalow. It's a hipped roof cottage, is what I would say.
You think it's from the same?
Oh yeah,
era?
and
Okay.
and those are even sometimes a little bit older. So my
Ah.
guess it was be more like 1900 something like that. You got some more bungalows down there and some smaller cottages. We don't have time to really go all the way down there, but those are in good shape. Okay, let's walk down this way. When do you think maybe that was built? I wanted to ask that. Any idea of the date maybe of this building? Decade? Huh?
70s or 80s?
I'd say at least 80s. I'd say 80s, maybe 70s. And again, what was going on here in the 70s and 80s? Nothing good, right? The neighborhood was deteriorating fast. And so that was probably a blessing, a godsend to the neighborhood in a lot of ways. And then you've got another Victorian era cottage here. See how asymmetrical it is?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
it
now
has
it's
all
been
kind of
turned
different
into-
angles.
And now it's been turned into a Baha'i
Yeah,
faith or
uh-huh, right.
not
But the
church,
structure is
the
the
structure
same,
is-
yeah.
Yes.
Tell me what renovations have taken place that you can tell on this house. Huh?
Windows.
Windows for sure. Yep. Yeah, I think it's some kind of siding. What else? Anything? I think there's an addition or something maybe over here, or maybe that bay right there was enclosed and had been opened. That's be my guess, maybe. You see this bay I'm talking about here that extends from the porch? I'll bet you it was open until it was enclosed. And that piece over there may have been an addition. That's my guess. Sanborns would show you that. Other than that, it still retains its bones, right? It still reads as a Victorian era cottage. The lines of it, the hipped roof, the gables, the gable on the side, those are all very Victorian era cottage things. You could read those easily. The porch. What about this? Well, it's an awful ugly 70s, 80s apartment building, right? Nothing good's happening here. So it's cheap. You can make some money off of it. Does it fit in?
No, not really.
Doesn't fit in at all. It's not the worst thing I ever saw, but it doesn't fit at all. They did use some pretty good materials because it's still there. And then obviously, what is this structure? It's a church. How do you know?
Cross.
A cross? What if it didn't have the cross? Would it still look like a church?
I wouldn't know what denomination it is,
You definitely wouldn't know that.
but I could tell it was a religious building.
You would think it was a religious building. Something about the building, even without the cross, I think, tells your brain, your eye right away that this is a church. Got to be a church.
Pointed arches.
The pointed arches, which is Gothic.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
it looks like
It's a very Tudory.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say there looks like some Tudor influence.
Absolutely.
And then we have, of course, the coins.
Yeah, of course. There you
There.
go, Patrick.
Yeah.
The coins on the limestone pieces that
Right,
wrap the
yeah.
corners
Yeah.
are coins, Quoins. Definitely the Gothic elements on the front.
Yeah.
Tudor. Gothic is just the highest
Oh,
style
they
of Tudor.
even have the pointed arch windows on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. So this is very much highly stylized Tudor with Gothic influence is what I would say. This church is interesting from another point of view too, which is that it was Bull Connor's church. Y'all know who Bull Connor is?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I hope he prayed that to be forgiven about the hoses. But anyway,
I don't know.
I don't know if he did or not. For
So
himself, anyway.
So Bull Connor's earlier church was in West End, right across the street from Arlington Mansion, Antebellum Mansion. And that church now is a African American congregation, which tickles me no end, right?
Oh, this
My,
one is a.
The one in West End.
Ah, okay.
This is
So,
where Red Mountain Community School is now.
Oh,
It's
really?
in so I go there every week.
Oh, no
to
kidding.
teach a class.
Oh, there you
I'm gonna
go.
see if they know about that.
Oh, I bet not.
That might be
So I had students one time in a public history class, I guess. I had maybe 4 churches that had transitioned from one thing to another in some way. This has always been a church. But it transitioned definitely from an all-white upper middle class church to a mixed congregation, which it is now. And so that's a transition. And you can tell the denomination, it says so up there, doesn't it? Avondale something. Anyway, we know it's a Christian
Church of the
It's a
South.
of the
Methodist
South.
church.
Yeah, it's a Methodist church. Bull Connor was a Methodist. George Wallace was a Methodist.
Well,
Yeah, it is a Methodist church.
well, that's African.
And you can see the big wing over there, also Tudor. But I had students one time do that project on different churches, and I specifically wanted somebody to do this one because I wanted to know more about who Bull Connor was in the church. Well, he was real active in the church. They found all kind of bulletins with his name, and he was a Sunday school teacher, and he was this, and he was that, and all kinds of stuff. So it's interesting, and it also illuminates this person who's, a symbol of bad stuff. I don't know if it made him any better or not, but we know he had other parts of his life. That's really what I'm saying. That he was, like most Southerners, involved in the church, most Southern office holders, and he was very active and raised money and this and that and the other. I think they called him Eugene, not Bull, in the pamphlets, but it was very interesting to me, and they enjoyed it too. So yeah, you'll have to check that out. If I can find that paper, I'll give it to you, show it to you. Okay, we got more 70s apartments, and then on either side we have mainly Victorian era cottages. So that suggests earlier than 1920s. Victorian era cottages really kind of stopped being built by the turn of the century, early part of the century. And what happens in architecture is that when you get one style sort of phasing out, another one coming in, you get an architectural style that kind of blends both. And you can see that a lot. Victorian era with the hipped roofs, wood siding, front gables, the big porches. And same with these. What about this one? How did that get there? What age would you say that might be? What do you say, Sam? Just guessing. I don't expect you to be an expert.
40s, 50s?
I'd say 80s, 70s,
you-
60s. Now, it could have been, the more I look at it, I jumped too fast, it could have been an earlier thing that was bricked over. What makes you say that earlier time period?
There's something, I mean, just the size and the wood looks old. Like that looks like that might not have been replaced.
I'm thinking the wood is much younger, but it's got that hip roof that suggests earlier to me. So if I were documenting it, I would say that it looks like, but see, you can't tell because it's completely bricked over and has a lot of much newer renovations, the windows and everything else. So you really can't tell, and that's the problem in history, that you can't tell, except that roof gives you a little hint. So that's the way I would put it if I were writing that. Okay, let's keep going. this house here, Victorian era cottage, I'd say late 1890s or early 1900s. But
The dividing line, or the between the Victorian and the
No.
Craftsman, is that it's the
no,
symmetrical?
no.
That it's
No, this has
no.
not got craftsman in it.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not see any craftsman in
Okay.
that. Maybe that one
That
a
one
little
is
bit.
Craftsman. Okay.
No, it's
No.
still a Victorian cottage, but it's got some
Victorian. Okay.
got some craftsman elements. But I wanted to ask you or say to you that somebody put some money into this, I think,
Yeah.
in the maybe 1950s or 60s. Where am I looking?
The wrought iron.
Yeah, the wrought iron. That's a big. There is no wrought iron until the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They love wrought iron. I like wrought iron too. But when you see that, especially on a obviously older building, somebody's put some investment in that, right? And look at the rock wall again. Helps you to know that it's old. Okay? The building next to it, I want to talk about a little bit because we're still dealing with a Victorian era cottage, but we're headed toward craftsman somehow. But see the front gable? See the front gable there and also the smaller gable? You see those shingles that are rounded? Those are very typical of Victorian era cottages, and they're called fish scale shingles. That they look like fish scale shingles. So whenever you see that, you're looking at Victorian era cottage, probably, okay? Unless it was built, 10 years ago and looks it, because it'll be falling down in 10 years. So fish scale, that tells me Victorian era, or at least Victorian era elements. Another Victorian is that asymmetrical with the hipped roof and that sort of thing. And Victorian era cottages are usually an L shape. See that?
What is an L shape?
The Victorian era cottages.
Yeah.
Most of them are L shaped.
Okay.
See that one? Many of them down there. So they have a front bay that juts out and then a porch or the rest of the house is back. Does that make sense? Craftsman doesn't do really that. What about the dark green one? What do you say, Patrick? I'm a little. What do you say the style of that is?
Of this one?
The dark green.
Okay. Well, it looks. Let me look. This looks kind of. I'd say either it's Craftsman or Victorian. Now that newer edition, that looks to be.
I don't see a newer edition.
Is that iron wrought? No.
Okay.
But what tells you that's Craftsman? The one thing on there.
The rafter tail.
The rafter tails. That's what
So
it
it's
tells me.
Okay.
Yeah. The rafter tails are a real signal for Craftsman. Then you've got. Yeah, it's much more symmetrical. Yeah. They like gable roofs. Those are side gables, but they're still gables. And then you've got another hipped roof, Victorian cottage that needs some work. And then you've got to start with the commercial. So let's walk down there. What time is it?
10:32.
10:32, okay. We're going to go just a little bit down on the commercial so I can talk a little bit now. That's a nice building. It's maybe one of two of the nicer buildings in the commercial district. It says established 2000. Huh. Well, that building looks like it was built long before that, doesn't it?
This one?
Yeah, where it says established
doesn't look-
2000.
It looks older.
Well, it is older. Why do they say established 2000?
Business.
That's when
Oh,
the
that-
business
that's
was
when the-
established. So you have to watch that. With churches, oftentimes it'll say organized 1802.
Yeah.
But you know the building you're looking at is not 1802. Organized 1802, congregation. Okay, early on, and you'll repeat it and people say, what does it look like? Well, that's not 1802. Okay. Munchies. Anybody ever been to Munchies?
I went to it when it was a gas station.
Uh-huh.
But not since it's been.
Yeah, it's been jazzed up.
Yeah.
So Munchies was here in the 70s. Okay? Another, it just is. And it fit right in, I guess I'd say. And it was very unattractive. 70s gas station with things you could buy to eat. And just in the last, 5 years, have they done some work on it. Again, I had students interview him one time. The owner. And we were curious as to why he didn't do something to keep up with the revitalization going on here. Well, he didn't for another 10 years at least. But then he did this. Just make a note of the 70s apartment buildings. A lot of them come in. They're cheap and you can make money off of them. If they don't fit in at all, they don't intend to. They have no interest in it. I guess we can. We won't stay long, I promise.
This Ferris brewery opened in like 2022, and then it's closed already.
Oh.
Shut down. But this
And it was
entire
good.
thing used to be a parking lot.
Yep.
and They made
Yep, so this was a parking lot. Lots of parking lots in here. When things got torn down, nothing else was built back. So you get that real snaggletooth thing in here. This is a great example of a snaggletooth historic district because it's got so many parcels that are not historic. But we managed to make a good enough argument, and it did get on the National Register. So that one's probably what era? What do you say?
409.
Yeah. It's very much 60s, something like that. Those aluminum, everything about it is 60s, I'd say. The aluminum storefront,
When did they start using cinder blocks on things?
40s, 50s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or cinder blocks on the side of that. I knew they did.
Okay.
Really early 20s.
Yeah, 40s, 50s, you see a lot. So this gas station right here, it used to be a gas station. Another really good story. So when Bull Connor moved to this part of town, he had been voted out of office by then, 1962, 63, okay, by the voters of Birmingham, predominantly white, right? Voted him out. That's a big deal that you don't hear much about. And so he's out, he needs a job. And so he bought the gas station that was right there. And there was always, for many decades, a car that sat up on top of that roof coming out. And one of the good stories about him was that he owned the gas station and he serviced the cars, right? Did the windshields and everything, pumped the gas. And a black couple told this story that they never got a big kick out of anything in their life. Coming up and Bull Connor is servicing their car. And I don't know if it's true, but it could very well be true, no doubt about that. Okay. This is a brand new building, just in the last few years, which is, does it look like the historic, are they trying to fit in? They're making a completely different statement. I like it. They're not trying to be anything except different, and they are definitely keeping up with the modern vibe, right? That's what they're doing, which I like because it kind of tells you the evolution of the commercial district too, and they did a good job as well. It's just very modern, right? What about this one here? And that is synthetic stone, not real stone. So they used that a lot in the 40s also. So between that and the windows, I would say that that's a 40s probably building. Doesn't fit worth anything, does it? But it's there, and so it's historic. It's over 50 years old, has original materials, so on and so forth. I kind of like it. Doesn't fit, but okay. And then, and we'll stop here because I know we need to go. So you can see more of the residential neighborhood back there. So yeah, if you didn't get in here in 1990 or in 2000 to buy your house, keep saving because it's expensive.